Honestly, it exceeded even. I honestly thought, I'm not kidding, that his campaign manager would look more or less normal. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
God damn.
Okay.
I love how his header pick on his Twitter is a edit from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where he's Hunter Thompson and John McAfee is Dr. What's his name? The crazy guy.
Yes. Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, so he tweeted out...
Oh, I have a headache from laughing at that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, so he tweets from John McAfee's account, "This is at Logia on fire again. I have good reason to suspect that John McAfee, the Mrs. McAfee, and other companions have been detained by authorities at their latest port of call. I will be operating this account, providing updates as they become possible. I last spoke with John as his boat was being boarded. The situation was tense but controlled. Our conversation was cut short by authorities confiscating their phones. The bastards wouldn't even give him a cigarette."
Bastards.
And then he tweets something that, again, just look at this man's appearance. I want those of you listening, if you have the opportunity,
it's actually better if you can. We're going to continue reading the tweets because not everyone can do this. But if you can, you should have paused it and go read the tweets while looking at a photo of him so that your mind can conjure up what it sounds like.
Yes. And he says, "If John misses his next check-in, events will be set into motion that I cannot prevent once they have begun. John has secreted data with individuals across the world. I know neither their identities or locations. They will release the payloads if John goes missing." That's what he says. They will release their payloads if John goes missing.
This is too much fun.
"Our campaign for individual freedom and an end to state-sponsored tyranny will continue despite these developments. On behalf of the free people of the world, I demand the release of John McAfee and his companions from wherever they are being held. This will not stand."
I will say, when this guy says he demands something, if I were these people, I would listen.
Yeah.
And no doubt they did, because he was released. They looked at that iPad. They looked at this guy's picture and they said, "Rob Benedict Pacifico, Juan Maria Legia Ramirez is not someone to fuck with. If he demands it, I'd listen to him."
Yeah.
I can't believe I read all that on the first try.
Yeah.
Because I actually only had the first half of it, and then I had to click on his to see the rest.
Yeah, and so, John McAfee says, he says, "Leaving detention, don't judge my looks, 4 days of confinement. I was well treated. My superiors were friendly and helpful. In spite of the helpful circumstances, we decided to move on. More later." And he's actually taking pictures posing with the arresting officers, it seems.
Yeah, very McAfee-esque.
It's like, I think it's like in Fight Club where Tyler Durden manages to convert not just, all these disaffected young men, but also like the cops and stuff. Nothing but respect for my future president.
If the Libertarians don't nominate this guy, they're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, everyone knows you can't win. You're not going to win the presidency on this time around. So you got to get attention. And I understand that there's that fine line between if we get, there's good attention, there's bad attention. We don't want to become the weirdo party for cast-off candidates. But consider it at this point a national service. This man needs a platform from which to do this. You have one. Give it to him.
Yep.
No one else is using it. Come on. Even if he weren't a libertarian, I'd be saying this, by the way. Even if he were like a crazy socialist or something, I'd be saying nominate him because his antics need to... It's a public service at this point.
Yes.
For them to loose him upon the world.
And then, I don't have much more to say about this, honestly.
Well, that's one of those things about McAfee is he creates he's not memeable in the way like Trump. We talked about this before. Trump's memeable. Trump does things that are wild and they have staying power and you can talk about them and there's all these angles where you can meme it and repeat it. McAfee does these crazy things where you just say it and then you just sit back in stony silence of stunned awe. Well, you go, yeah, that happened.
Yep.
And then we just kind of all nervously chuckle and go, all right. I don't know what to do with that information.
Speaking of not knowing what to do with information, thank you, Dan.
Hey.
Chris Pratt has faced, or we were told that Chris Pratt was facing a backlash or criticism for, right now, the Yahoo article says his t-shirt choice. The original headline was Chris Pratt criticized for white supremacist T-shirt. Oh wow, they totally retracted. They totally gutted this article. So originally, Yahoo News ran an article. He was taking a picture with a fan, and he was wearing a shirt, and it simply had the American flag, and then on the stripes was the curled up rattlesnake from the Gadsden flag, and it said "Don't tread on me" across the bottom. And according to Yahoo News, this was a white supremacist symbol. I mean, right now, if you look at the article, all references to white supremacy are gone. They scrubbed their mistake. I'm actually kind of disturbed by it as I'm trying to read this article and quote it for posterity. But they were saying, right, gone. And they were saying, this has links to white supremacy because, the people of Charlottesville were waving their flag. One person who I know said, white supremacists have long appropriated the Gadsden flag as part of their quest to end federal interference in local discrimination. This is, of course, similar to the white supremacist commitment to drinking water as part of a decades-long commitment to not starving. As it turns out, this controversy was not actually real. Looking through the article, they really only quoted like 3 tweets of people saying that, oh wow, they really scrubbed it. There used to be more tweets. They only now have quoted a single tweet by Tim Burns saying, I like Chris Pratt, but all these small things about his politics makes me wonder when he'll say something transphobic, tank his career, and do the full heel turn into a Fox commentator, the Mel Gibson career path. But then that means Chris Pratt.
My God. That's hilarious. I like Chris Pratt, but I'm wondering, is he transphobic?
Right.
That's in the back of my mind when I think about how much I like him. Like, what kind of psychopath?
It's like, I like him, but I know it's like living in the USS when you're like, man, Nikolai is such a nice guy. It's a real shame he's been marked for execution.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so weird to be like.
Wait, I mean, I said that as a joke, but I mean, it really is like that. Well, that sort of casual, almost.
It's not even that bad because it's this is just him saying there are these things that make me think that he could have politics I don't like. Little bits and pieces like that he goes hunting and he goes to church and he wore this Gadsden flag shirt, which, by the way, the Gadsden flag with the American flag on it, the U.S. men's soccer team has been using that as part of a campaign for years.
That goes to show that.
So that's why they get paid more.
Yes. Because it shows that they're down with the white supremacist conspiracy.
Exactly. But the point is, like, this is like saying not just that Nikolai's a nice guy, but it's a shame he's been marked for execution. But, Nikolai's a nice guy, but I noticed that he doesn't always keep his radio on during the broadcasts of Stalin's speeches. And the other day when we were all told, to stand up for the national anthem, he kind of was a little slow to get up. So
I noticed Nikolai stopped clapping first, and it's little things like that make me wonder if he really loves Stalin.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm already mentally writing him off so that when he's marked for execution, I won't have to feel bad. I'll go, yeah, that is too bad. Oh my God, it's so.
Like, hey, have you guys seen Nikolai? And they're like, who's Nikolai?
Yeah, so the point I wanted to make about this article, which I can't even make anymore because the article's been so scrubbed, but it doesn't matter because the point still stands. The idea was floated like a trial balloon, but it sounds like the trial balloon didn't work. Your hit on the Gadsden flag didn't work, and instead they had to backtrack. But the point is still made, which is that now, the next time they want to go after somebody for using the Gadsden flag, it will be, well, it's been called a racist symbol. There's been discussion, and this will now be another stepping stone to get us there. So maybe 3 or 4 instances from now, it'll go from one guy on Twitter said it was a racist symbol to Yahoo News had a discussion about whether it's a racist symbol to, well, now there's a controversy about whether it's a racist symbol. And as we all know, if you've read enough Wikipedia articles about non-liberal figures, the controversy section is the way they get you. They go, well, there's a controversy about that, which means we tarred you with this and it didn't stick. So we're going to still kind of half tar you with it. So they're going to say, oh, well, But now there's a controversy about the Gadsden flag, and it's a very small jump from there's a controversy around it to people start to say, well, it's just better if you don't use it. And then once they've got you to admit that, then they just go, oh, everyone knows it's racist.
Yeah.
Just like everyone, last time we talked, knows that the Betsy Ross flag is a racist symbol, even though 8 seconds ago, we thought it was just like a generic Americana symbol that has literally no connotations other than we live in this country. And then one guy said, oh, I think it's racist because it's from the past, and the past was racist. And now everyone goes, oh, yeah, everyone knows that the Betsy Ross flag is, highly problematic.
If I can just make a quick aside, I'm not going to make a whole section about this. Since you brought up Wikipedia, it should be pointed out. Follow up on the Andy No story. Apparently, shocking, really, no one in particular, the kinds of people who spend a lot of their time becoming veteran editors of Wikipedia are all working around the clock to make sure that the Andy No story is portrayed as unsympathetically as possible on Wikipedia. I'm going to say these words. Breitbart had a good article about this. I'll just link it in the show notes. And second off, a good test to see if a symbol really is a hate symbol is to see whether or not there's any kind of attempt to point out that it is a hate symbol. What do I mean by this? Well, if Chris Pratt were to walk outside wearing a Confederate flag shirt, nobody would ask the question or talk about the controversy about whether or not the Confederate flag was connected to racism. There would simply be a demand that Chris Pratt clarify his position. We would say,
the Confederate flag is a hate symbol? Or are you saying that now it has become a
like whether or not the outrage is legitimate, whether or not, is the media is there an actual connection? Let's try that. Whether or not it's objectively a hate symbol, if whether or not there's a connection, a real substantive connection between that symbol and hate, if it's a real connection, we don't need to be told about the connection. You would just ask, right? So if Chris Pratt walked out with a Confederate flag, nobody would talk about the connection between the Confederate flag and racism. We all kind of know what the connection is, right?
Yeah. I
know you coming from, the deep South bumfuck state called Massachusetts, have mixed feelings on the Confederate flag. But as an enlightened person who's in Virginia, I'm here to tell you how you should feel about the symbol. If somebody walks around with a swastika, nobody would, again, questions like, isn't he aware? Doesn't he know about the connection? Let's show evidence, right? Tweet threads showing the connection between swastikas and racism. Like, you wouldn't see that. There'd be no need.
You say you're not a racist, but you have that swastika tattoo with the white power written under it. Let's discuss the contradiction.
Yeah, let's discuss the contradiction, right? I mean, nobody did this, right, with Mel Gibson, right? When Mel Gibson decided that he was going to try to have a discussion with a police officer on the Jewish question during a DUI stop, Nobody asked if Mel Gibson knew that the things that he was dabbling in tropes, right? Yeah.
When Mel Gibson made that remark to his wife about her being attacked by a panic.
Listen, we're not quoting Mel Gibson on this podcast.
Know what he said. Nobody said, does he know the connotation of that word?
Right.
When he used the N-word. Nobody said, which the word that we won't even use on the podcast right now. Nobody said, oh my God, does Mel Gibson realize that that's offensive to black people? No, everybody said, yes, he clearly knows it. That's why he said it.
Yeah, like you demand an apology and then he gives one and then you destroy his career anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that nobody
is the classic mom and dad play of if you just say you're sorry, you won't get in trouble. And then the kids, or if you just tell me the truth, you won't get in trouble. The kid tells the truth. And then the parents like, oh boy, you in fucking trouble now, bud. You fucking fell for it. You trusted us, you piece of shit, idiot child.
It's like, was it Donald Rumsfeld's like, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
It wasn't him, but yeah.
Yeah. And so there's no actual connection between the Gadsden flag and hate. Because if there was, you wouldn't need to tell us about it. We would have made the question. And then the articles would instead be, we demand that Chris Pratt clarify his position. Is he a libertarian or is he a Nazi? Right? And the very fact that sounds absolutely insane, right? Think of it in the other direction. If it were a swastika, if you walk around with a swastika, we wouldn't ask, is Chris Pratt a Nazi or a Buddhist? We know, right? If you walk around with a swastika,